I'm actually going to go through and just do up your character sheet on my end.
Yeah. So I am basically recording as of right now. So yeah, we could probably just use it from this point in time. But welcome to Gergen
Sure.
Gaming. We're going to be creating some characters to one character for my character that we're going to be doing in the D&D one shot, which you're going to be DMing. And this is Kale from Dead Summer Art. How's it going?
Yeah, not bad. Hello, hello. I'm keen for this. It's been a while in the making. We've gone through. This is our second revision of characters.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I think this one's gonna be gonna be the one that we go through with. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm tired of waiting. We're gonna get it done.
Yeah, we
So
are going to get it done. And for people out there that are familiar, we did cover this to a certain degree on the Living Legends podcast, where we sort of went through the reins of creating a character and stuff. But I realised that while we were live recording that, I was like, bloody hell, there's so much information. I didn't even write down what Kel was telling me to write down for my stats, and I was just like, right, I'm going to get Kale on to do this properly. And give you an insight and a bit of a teaser as to what my character is going to be for this. So have we got a name for this campaign or anything we can chuck out into the ether now as a teaser for people?
yeah, sure. So depending on how much people know their lore, this may or may not mean a lot, but it's going to be called Escape from Southmore. So Southmore is a location in the pits.
Yeah.
So I'll let everyone out there do their own digging as to what exactly Southmore is.
Yep.
But yeah, you can probably even flash up the logo on screen now
Yeah.
during post processing and whatnot. So
Yeah, we'll do. Yeah.
yeah,
Nice. But yeah, it's going to be set in the pits, and obviously, rightly so, with Outsiders being the freshest release. I know everyone's, losing their minds over that new Prism art, but yeah, that's where we're going to be in this one shot campaign. Obviously, depending on the reception, we might be able to do more of these. And for now, it is. There was a lot of people involved at the very start, but for now, it's the Living Legends podcast plus yourself as a dungeon master for this as well. Because it's hard to as it is right now. Me and you, Kel and Bill, are 4 different time zones.
yes.
So logistics are quite funny, and I just messaged you off out of the blue today saying, are you free? And it's evening for you right now, is that right?
Yeah, so it is 8 o'clock right now. I did actually, I'll show it on screen in case anyone's interested. I made myself a nice burger. It's going a bit
lovely.
blurry, but
Nice. I'll try not to, while I'm plugging stuff in and explaining my character, you can take a few bites out of that if you wish.
no worries.
But yeah, so I might as well just preface it here by, as you can see on the screen, this is my character sort of document, sort of background and flavour and theme as to the character I'm going to be playing. The art that you can see on there as well is all art that I've had commissioned from a concept artist that I worked with last year. So yeah, Azra Demullet is his name.
I was wondering how you pronounced his last name. I read it and I was like, what is
Demullet.
that? I was like, Damulet, and I was like, huh.
Demullet. Yeah, so it's
That's nice.
Yeah, so it's obviously it's a play on the fact that I've got long hair and mullet and all that sort of thing, obviously. But I also thought it was quite if you think of like New York backstreet gangster, you can think of the DeMullet brothers, the right sort of troublemakers. The DeMullets. Oh, that family is a bit of a scoundrels, the DeMullets and stuff.
Yeah, greaser type vibe almost.
Exactly, yeah. So yeah, I thought it was quite good. Although it was a play on words initially, I thought it sounded quite cool in that sort of grimy aspect.
Yeah, I like it.
But yeah, you can see it on screen here. There's a little profile picture of him. So he's obviously got sort of steampunk vibes, very much inspired from Final Fantasy as well, because he's got like a Cloud Strife motorbike situation, but also a Mad Maxi style vibe as well, which I think fits in with the pits and metrics being one in a sort of ecosystem.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, he's got a sword and a bow. And obviously on the screen you can see it's a red liner, which I thought was the more sort of steampunky bow that's available to Flesh and Blood style characters. So it's quite mechanical, doesn't it? And I think there's a bit of lore about someone wielding it or something in the pits or something. Um,
Um, yeah, I'm trying to remember exactly. I know I've read a little bit about that. It might have just been like a blurb for the
yeah,
digital preview tile when it came out.
I think
But
that's
there's
what it
definitely something
was.
about it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I think Red Zone Rogue spoiled it initially, and I think that's what he was given as part of the digital asset thing, as you said. Yeah,
Oh, he actually spoiled Redliner? I didn't actually know that.
or maybe he did. It was Crucible of War, wasn't it? So I imagine he probably did. But I could be wrong. But we'll
Crucible of War.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I
So
know that's a long time ago.
it is a long time ago. Yeah. But yeah, so the general sort of feel and flavour of this character, I'll just read through a few things. So he's a human vigilante and monster hunter, born and raised in the pits, and always looking for clues about his two missing brothers. So obviously he's in a family of five. His mother and father were killed on a sort of a like one of the boats in the pits that are doing various tasks and stuff like shipping and stuff. So they were killed on one of those, and he was left with the sort of responsibility of his two brothers, who, as a result of that tragedy, just became absolute troublemakers, essentially. But yeah, human vigilante monster, and that will come later as to why he's like that. And there's a little bit of a picture there as to his sort of street on Crow Alley, I've called it. But just moving on a little bit forward in the timeline, at the moment he does live in Metrics in like a sky condo and is very wealthy. But he's very, very generous to those he likes and those that need help. He accrues money from his criminals' own spoils when he kills and hunts them. And he also takes on big monster hunting contracts, which lead him all over the world on his steam-powered motorbike. So essentially, he travels around the world of Wraith, essentially protecting people, but also hunting and killing those that are wrongdoers. Essentially, so his morals are a bit all over the place, but he is trying to do it out of goodness, essentially. But also, there's a sort of rage in him and sort of this underlying factor of him trying to find where his brothers are, which were basically kidnapped, essentially. So yeah, those little moral grey areas. Which
Always makes for the best characters.
exactly. So he's got a few items. He's got a redliner bow, which I've just put down here as a long bow, which I imagine would be the D&D equivalent for now.
Yeah, I'll depending on how we go with what you want your sort of special magical item to go, can always make it a +1 as well if we need to. Yeah, we'll figure something out as we get to it.
Yeah, figure that out as we get there. He's also got a steam-powered blade, so again, something like a long sword, which might have some sort of ability to do a knockback or something based on the steam power. Then he's got a steam-powered motorbike which he travels around in. Obviously, it's not going to be used too much in the campaign. It's more of a flavour thing. And then he's got some other items as well. He's got defaced family photos and Dart's jumper, which is torn in half. So Dart is his brother. So just a few story things about it, because people that are interested in D&D and these sorts of things and the world of Wraith all encapsulated into one might want to know this, and then we'll get into all the mechanics and stuff as well and how we create it. But I just wanted to give everyone who's discovered this video as a result of the channel and stuff, and the word out there that it's going to be a campaign, might want to know what the characters are. So yeah. So 4 years ago, as I mentioned, Azra's parents die after being attacked on a cargo ship that they are working on during a raid from pit pirates, I've named them. So just scoundrels in the pits that are potentially raiding the cargo ships that his parents worked on. So then he becomes solely responsible for his two brothers that are massive troublemakers and are traumatised by their parents' sudden deaths. So that's Dart and Kirik. So as I mentioned just a moment ago, Azra does have Dart's jumper as a memento of the night that they were kidnapped, which we'll get onto, but it's torn in half, and there's no blood on it or anything, so it doesn't suggest that he's died or anything. It's just that's what he had, which we'll get onto. And then there's a nice picture of the port where the Demullet seniors were attacked and killed. So there's a nice little picture there of the boat and stuff going through. So yeah, that was 4 years ago. The parents died. Now 3 years ago, the younger brothers end up killing a spider operative in a large scrap with a bunch of squeakers. So obviously the younger brothers are always getting into fights with various gangs and stuff, but they end up killing a spider operative during this skirmish, and the spider then potentially. This is just the backstory, but the spider could then send an operative to trash the family home and then seemingly kidnap the brothers. And then Azra returns home to find the home trashed and the photos defaced, which is obviously he's got another item that he's got. So obviously the photos have been defaced with crosses through the faces of Dart and Kirik. So it doesn't suggest that they're dead. There's just a family home trashed, bit of maybe psychological damage going on, psychological warfare. But yeah, his brothers aren't there. They've been supposedly kidnapped and or killed potentially. We don't know. So that's that. And then 2 years ago, after dealing with the grief, Azra goes rogue and decides to stalk and hunt the criminals and monsters of the pits, protecting the innocent, but also exacting his own form of personal revenge on those that are trying to harm others. So again, his sort of like a revenge-fueled journey, similar to the Punisher, was my main sort of character. Because obviously the Punisher's killing criminals, but he will still protect those that he respects and likes, and won't see other harm come to innocents, will they? So that's my sort of theory behind that. So a couple more bits here, and then we can go on to the mechanics and stuff. So a year ago, Azra becomes known as the Night Stalker, a vigilante that protects the helpless folk of the pits from the criminals and dregs looking to feed upon them, although Azra's real name and identity are not known by the public. So obviously he's then given this sort of title of, oh yeah, that's the Night Stalker. He's the one that protects the people in the night from the pits and the dregs and the mutants and all this sort of thing. So he's a vigilante in the pits, but as he's doing that, he's obviously killing the dregs and the criminals and stuff, but also taking their spoils and their money to fuel his own lifestyle in Metrics, which is where he's going to live shortly. So yeah, 6 months ago he moves out to live out the high and more comfortable life in Metrics, living off the spoils of criminals and the monster contracts he completes. So then he obviously moves on to also another form of protecting people, getting the monster contracts done and getting money off of that. And then obviously present day, which is where we are now when we start this campaign, he's continuing his search for his brothers and interrogates all the criminals and scumbags he comes across to see if they know any information as to where his brothers are. But the search continues to go cold, ... So that's obviously something that we can thread in or potentially thread in future things if we do that. And then he spends most of his time hunting the monsters and travelling around the world on his motorbike. So loads of story, loads of stuff, but I always do this. I always go all in. If I'm going to do something, I do it properly. And it's nice for you to know as well, right? Just in case, these things come up.
Yeah, there's definitely some things I'd like to incorporate from all of your backstories into the one shot. So yeah. I've got some ideas with your character. I think yours is the only one I've sort of narrowed down kind of what I'm thinking of doing. Yeah. The others I still have to get a bit more info from, but yeah, I got some cool stuff.
Nice. So yeah, it's always nice to have, when you're building a character, if you think of the story and the lore and everything behind it, it then makes your decisions as to the actual stats and feats easier to select as well, I feel.
Yeah, for sure. Especially with the backstory. That's the part that really ties in with your background and whatnot. So
yeah, exactly. So yeah, there's loads of other stuff on here. There will be a link in the description box below if you do want to read all of this. So I did write out a bit of story. Not too much of a good writer, but it's all there. But yeah, and then obviously we go on to like class features and stuff. So this is where we would start creating the character properly. And where would you say would be the best place to start with that, do you think?
I think we could probably do your stats because you've already obviously decided race, which is human.
Yeah.
Because that's probably one of the only couple that would be sort of workable with this. That means that we can easily start sort of smashing out your stats, and then from there we can just extrapolate it into the skills, your health, armor class, that sort of thing, and yeah, we'll take it from there. So
nice. Right, so I've got the sheet up in front of me. So people, whoops, that's actually above our faces. Let me just change that. So this is now on screen, so I'm just going to type in my character name first. That's most important, I guess. On here,
That will definitely help.
that would definitely help. There we go. And obviously it says class and level, which is next to that. So we've got so we're doing level 5 characters, aren't we?
Yes. So level 5. And we'll basically start all your stats off at level 1, and then we'll just level it up, so that way we don't miss anything.
Yeah, cool. Race is human. And you want to start with the stats first, then?
Yeah, so we'll start with the stats first. It's been a little bit since I've actually made a character, but essentially what I like to do is, I think you did pretty much the same thing on the Living Legends podcast, where
Yeah.
you just roll like a bunch of d6.
Yeah. Take
You
away
normally
the lowest.
roll, yeah, take away the lowest. So it's what do they do? How many d6 is it?
I think it's 4, isn't it? 4 take away lowest. Potentially.
4 take away the lowest. I think so. I'm actually going to double check this. That's how long it's been.
Yeah,
but,
we'll double check it.
Alright. Yeah. Roll 4d6, drop the lowest. That's right.
Okay. Nice. I'm just going to do that. I'm just going to do that now then.
Yep. So if you want to do that 7 separate times, and then we can drop the lowest stat that you get from all of that.
Okay, cool. So that is a 6 plus 5 is 11 plus 4 is 15. So I'm just going to write these down.
Pretty good, pretty good.
Write these down in these personality traits first. So 15. Take away 1. So that is 15 again. Exactly the same numbers. Take away the 1 again. So that is 16. Take away the 4, so that is 15 again. Okay, come on, give me a rubbish one. Give me a rubbish one.
Man, that's a good spread so far.
There we go. Take away 1. That is still 13 though.
Okay.
I think Kale has like a 20 and something though, so he's loving life. He's the absolute assassin.
Yeah, which is to be expected for a level 5 character. You can sort of easily get there. So
yeah. Okay, that's a 12. So 15, 15, 16, 15, 13, 12. So that's 6. I'll do 2.
Yep.
Another 1. I'll take away 1. So that is 11. That's more like it.
Okay.
So that's 7. Do we need? Is that how many we need?
Yeah, so that's 7 in total. So you did get pretty good, I think. So normally I would say drop the lowest, but I'm thinking maybe just depending on how everyone else's stats end up, just to balance it a bit.
Yeah.
I might just yank away one of the 15s, and that way you'll have 15, 15, 16, 13, 12, 11.
Mm-hmm.
Which might make it a bit more balanced, I reckon.
Yeah, nice. I'll take away that. Take away that 15 then. So yeah, those are the stats currently. So as a ranger, you probably need what, dexterity to be the highest one? Do you think as like a hybrid fighter?
So depending on which direction you want to go. So in terms of the spell casting capabilities of ranger, that goes off of wisdom.
Yeah.
So you can choose to put in as much into that as you want. Otherwise, depending on your weapons, you would either want to go dexterity or strength. So for you, it seems like the bow is probably going to be your main weapon. So
Yeah.
I'd probably chuck maybe the 16 into dexterity. And then I guess you could probably chuck one of the 15s into strength as well. And you'd have pretty sort of decent stats for both your melee and range.
Yeah, that's what I want him to be, is more like he can do a bit of everything, but not overpowered in each area, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. So yeah, that's 15 and 16 taken out. Wisdom, I do have a few spells that I want to use out of the ranger pool that's allowed, plus the monster hunter pool, which is also allowed, which I've detailed on my sheet, which we'll get to in a bit. But I don't necessarily need to be ridiculously good at casting those spells. It's just like another option for me.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think I might.
Yeah, most of the time the wisdom stat would for spells affect either the damage or sometimes the saving throw enemies have to make in order to like avoid an area of effect spell or something like that.
Yeah.
So depending on how much sort of, I guess, strength you want in that, you can chuck more wisdom into it. I mean, wisdom was also pretty good because that's got things like survival, which will help you with tracking people, also perception. So it's probably not a bad one just to chuck like a decent stat into as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wouldn't say you'd probably need much of it for actual casting of spells, but it is still pretty handy to have for your type of character, I reckon.
Okay. Yeah, we'll do that. We'll do the other 15 in that then, I think. So we'll do the other 15 in there, in wisdom, which leaves us with 13, 12, and 11. So I don't think he's gonna have much charisma. I don't think.
The broody ranger type.
Exactly. Yeah. So he's capable of holding conversation, but he doesn't really get into it. So that would probably be the lowest one, I'd say.
Okay.
So yeah, I'll put the 11 in there. And then we got intelligence and constitution. So we've got a 12 and a 13 left here.
Yep. So as it stands with the modifiers between 12 and 13 are exactly the same. So at least for the sake of the one shot, it won't really matter which stat you have higher.
Okay.
It would only really matter if we have to like at some point continue and level you up and whatnot. But
cool. All right then. So for now, I'll just put 13 in constitution and 12 in intelligence. Did we get any upgrades to those because we're a human, or
yes.
is that something else I'm thinking of?
Yeah, so with human, I will confirm this, but essentially you have two options that you can take. Let me just bring it up on my sheet here. So you can choose to gain +1 to every single ability that you have, which is pretty good.
All right, yeah.
You can choose to do 2 different ability scores go up by 1, and you also get an extra skill and a feat. So feats are like extra abilities, so I can always run you through some ones that could be useful for a ranger.
Yeah.
But essentially, you can either take a flat +1 on everything, or you get +1 to 2 skills, plus a skill proficiency, plus a feat, which is pretty good.
Yeah, I think I'll choose that one.
All right.
So if you get +1 to 2 different things, is it worth putting wisdom up to 16 and strength up to 16 so we get the next plus thing? Do you get the next plus thing there, or is that?
Yes, you would. So if we do that, it will bump up your modifiers.
Yeah.
So now that we've got those stats in, so
strength 16.
Your strength.
Wisdom 16.
Yep.
Yeah.
So your strength modifier will be +3, and the same as your dexterity and wisdom.
Nice.
So that's pretty good.
Yeah.
And then your intelligence will get a +1, and so will your constitution.
Yep.
And then your charisma will have just the flat 0.
Cool. Okay.
Alrighty.
Cool. So no minuses, but fairly versatile, which is what I'm going for, which is good.
It's pretty much what you want a ranger to be.
Yeah.
So fairly versatile.
Yeah.
So now that we've done that, I'm going to go and bring up a list of feats that you can choose from.
Mm-hmm.
And in the meantime, if you want to pick an extra skill to become proficient in, you can go ahead and decide that now.
And the skills are like the acrobatics, animal handling, etc., are they?
Yep.
Okay.
So just any of those, you basically just want to make sure you're proficient in it by ticking the little bubble. I'm assuming you've got the same character sheet I've got up.
Yeah.
Where you can sort of type stuff into it. Yep.
Yeah, I've got the same one.
Awesome.
Fillable one. So I'm just going to go back to my other document fairly quickly, because I might have written down what he wants to have in this regard. Maybe I did. Maybe I didn't.
A little look as well.
Yeah, so I've got skills being athletics, perception, and survival.
Mm-hmm.
And then we also get deception and persuasion for being an urban bounty hunter.
Yep.
Um,
Easy enough.
no, those are the proficiencies. Sorry.
Yes, skill proficiencies.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so I need to add another one of those then, which is not part of that list, essentially.
Yeah, sure. So just anything that you haven't already got
Yeah.
proficiency in.
Okay, let's have a look then. I'll probably put stealth in there as well then.
Pretty solid option. You may need to do some stealthing in this
Yeah.
one shot.
Yeah.
So be interesting to see what Bill does with that, because I
Yeah.
know Kel's an assassin, so he's going to be stealthy enough.
Yeah.
And then you having stealth will be good, but I'm not sure if Bill's going to be walking around in clanging metal armor.
Probably not. No. Yeah. That'd be funny.
Alrighty. So there's a few feats here that I'm just having a look at that can be pretty good for a ranger. So I'll just go through some of them now. So there's one called Alert, which gives you a +5 bonus to initiative, which is quite big. You
Yeah.
can't be surprised while you are conscious, and other creatures don't gain advantage on attack rolls against you as the result of being hidden from you. So basically, you're just very alert of your surroundings, and you can't really have someone get a jump on you.
Yeah.
So that one is always a pretty good one to default to. What else do we have here? You don't use a crossbow, so we won't look at that. Dual wielding, no. There is one called Dungeon Delver. So this one is alert to the hidden traps and secret doors found in many dungeons. You gain the following benefits. So you have advantage on perception and investigation checks made to detect the presence of secret doors.
Yeah.
You have advantage on saving throws made to avoid or resist traps. You have resistance to the damage dealt by traps, which means you take half the damage normally you would take. And then you can search for traps while traveling at a normal pace instead of only at a slow pace. So normally if you want to check for traps, you have to like really slow your movement. But
Yeah.
with this, you're able to quickly sort of glance around.
Yeah, I think he would probably have something like that, because obviously he's familiar with, and there's another sort of trait that rangers get as well, which is like something to do with knowing what's around you. So I think some sort of feat like that would be worth having on there, especially when you're in the pits. There's lots of traps out there and trap cards and what have you.
Yeah, I'll tell you now. There's definitely going to be some traps that you might encounter. So
Yeah, exactly. So yeah,
other than that, yeah, there's just ones that allow you to be a bit more observant. So like increase your perception. There's one that makes you a bit faster.
yeah,
Skulker. That's just for hiding. Yeah. Other than there is one more that might be good.
yeah,
Sharpshooter. You have mastered ranged weapons and can make shots that others find impossible. You gain the following benefits. Attacking at long range doesn't impose disadvantage on your ranged weapon attack rolls. Your ranged weapon attacks ignore half cover and 3/4 cover.
yeah.
And before you make an attack with a ranged weapon that you are proficient with, you can choose to take -5 penalty to the attack roll. But then if the attack hits, you add +10 to the damage.
It's got to be
So,
that.
so yeah, it's up to you which one of those that I suggested you want to take. There's a couple more, but I think these are probably the main ones that you'd want to be looking at. So
Let's go with that last one. That sounds like.
all right.
Let's do that one.
So sharp shooter.
Yeah.
So that will be a feat. Alrighty. Cool.
So you can
feat,
essentially take aim, like get a -5 to hit, but if it hits, you do loads more damage essentially from ranged.
Yeah, it's the whole sort of flavor of it is you're aiming for like a weak spot, which would be harder to hit, but means you deal more damage. So
Yeah.
can be pretty good, especially if you give yourself advantage from being like if you shoot from like a hidden position on an enemy that doesn't know you're there,
Yeah.
you'll have advantage, which means you roll 2 dice, you take the highest, which can be good considering that -5 is, yeah, it's kind of impactful on your roll.
Yeah.
It's definitely nothing to just ignore. And then the fact that you can just shoot at long range without getting disadvantage on your weapon is pretty good. So
Yeah.
normally ranged weapons will have 2 ranges indicated. They'll have, I think a longbow off the top of my head is 90 feet and then 360 feet. So 360 feet is the absolute maximum that you can hit someone with. And then 90 feet is your normal range that you can sort of easily hit someone with. So if you go past 90 feet, but within the 360, that's normally where you'll have disadvantage if you're trying to shoot
I
someone.
see.
But
Yeah.
with the sharpshooter feat, you ignore that. So you just can just flat out shoot anyone from 360 feet away. And I can tell you now, you're not going to encounter anyone more than 360 feet away from you. So
Nice.
you'll be good on that front. So
Fantastic.
all
Yeah.
right. Cool. So now that we've got that feat done, because sometimes feats will give you like an extra bonus to one of your ability scores.
Yeah.
So that's why I like to choose it before we go ahead and add the modifier numbers to everything. But essentially now what I like to do is just to go through all the skills, and next to the skills, whatever ability that particular skill uses, you basically just want to put in the modifier for that particular skill. So if we start with acrobatics, for example,
Yeah.
that uses dexterity, and your dexterity modifier is a +3. So for acrobatics, you get a +3 to the roll.
Cool.
The only thing that will change is if you have proficiency in a skill, so you've got the little dot in the circle next to it, it's the ability modifier plus your proficiency bonus, which at level 5 will be +3. So pretty much anything with a black dot next to it will get +3 in addition to whatever bonus you normally get. So
Cool. And obviously the variant that we said about the human gets an extra skill that he's proficient in, right? Which I chose
yes,
stealth. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
yep. So that will be your stealth.
Nice. So,
Yeah. So I'll go ahead and I'll start chucking in those numbers.
yeah, I'm doing the same.
So that's going to be, and then we can always cross-reference before we start the one shot as well to make sure everyone's sheets are all good.
Yeah, and this would be helpful as well if I know Kel's a master of this, but Bill, if you're watching this now or in the future, this might be good for you to go through as well, or even schedule a time to do it as well. But yeah, this is helpful to do for sure.
I guess just to respond to Bill, because he did say in the podcast that he was apologizing to me for taking so long with his character. It's
Yeah.
totally fine. I totally get it. I'd been procrastinating writing the actual session, so it's fine.
Yeah, exactly. It is tough sometimes.
No hard feelings. I just am keen to play. So
Exactly. Yeah. And we couldn't have a better DM as well, I don't think. So thanks for doing this with us.
just wait until you see me actually DM, and then you can make your decision as to whether or not I'm good. Then
Yeah.
depends if your character lives or dies, I guess.
Exactly.
Alrighty.
Cool. So I'm adding the proficiency as well. So stealth is a +6 because of the proficiency. And then if I bring up my actual Azra sheet, so his proficiencies are there's a few things here which I think based on just the class and everything else. So he's proficient in light armor, medium armor, shields, simple weapons, martial weapons, thieves' tools from his urban bounty hunter background. And the skills that he's proficient in as a result of both human, the ones I've chose, and the backgrounds are athletics, perception, and survival. So I'm just going to plug those in. So athletics is +6. Perception is also +6. So that's wisdom. Dexterity. Survival is +6 because wisdom. Deception and persuasion. So deception is +3 because that's charisma, and then persuasion is also +3. So he has a few charisma-based proficiencies, which can, could get him out of certain sort of social situations with his persuasion and his deception in social encounters, which is quite nice at least. That's still good to have as a brooding ranger character. So yeah, they're all proficiencies that I believe that I have. I think that should all be populated now in the sheet. So that's all of those. And then apparently my character gets saving throws from somewhere.
Yeah, so that will be from your class. So the saving throw proficiencies for Ranger is Strength and Dexterity.
Cool. Yeah, thought that was the case. That's what's on my little Azra sheet here. So Strength and Dexterity, and the saving throws are what the same as proficiencies? Are they +6?
Yeah, essentially. So you just take, for Strength, you take your Strength modifier, and if you're proficient with it, which you are, you get the proficiency bonus too, which would put you up to a +6 for both Strength and Dexterity.
Nice.
Which is pretty good. Pretty solid.
Cool.
All right.
So that's those. I'm just going to plug in proficiencies as well in light armor, medium armor, shield, simple, and martial weapons.
Mm-hmm.
On this.
So that means you can pretty much use everything with the exception of like heavy armor.
Yeah.
So
medium and light armor, which I think is which is fine for my sort of outfit. It's more like a studded leather sort of style. Wants to be dexterous in it, doesn't want to be wearing too heavy armor. Bill is going to be wearing massive plate armor, I imagine, but
he could always go the more, I guess, because it sounded like he was making a cleric, if I remember correctly. So he could always go for like more of a robed type thing, but
yeah,
really depends. I think he did say he wanted to do some tanking, so he'll probably end up wearing something more durable.
Exactly.
All right.
Cool. So that's those. So with regards to stats like HP and initiative and speed and all that sort of thing, should we put those in?
Yeah. So speed will be very easy because 99% of the time that's just dictated by your race. So for humans, that's 30 feet.
Cool. Nice.
And then for your initiative, that simply uses your dexterity modifier. So that will be +3. And then there's only a couple ways that your initiative can go up outside of dexterity. Like, for example, the alert feat that we had talked about. That gives like a +5, which is pretty crazy. And then, in terms of your armor, so I'm totally cool with you having studded leather armor, which is a little bit better than normal leather armor. In fact, there's really no downside to it. So the armor class then, just to make sure, should be 12 plus your dexterity modifier. Let me confirm that. Studded leather, 12 plus dex modifier. So you will be a 15 for armor class.
Okay, nice.
All right.
Fantastic, and that goes in with the whole steampunky aesthetic as well. The studded leather, as I mentioned just now. So I'm just going to put that into the equipment as just studded leather armor.
Yep, and then you can flavor that to look however you wish.
Exactly. Yeah. Nice. Cool. So that's the armor class, initiative, and speed and everything. So initiative is when you encounter a creature, you roll initiative, you get the +3, and that's whoever acts then decides who acts first in combat. Is that right?
Yep. So start of combat, everyone, including any NPCs or monsters, they roll for initiative, and then you just go in turn order based on who got highest to lowest. So depending on your class, sometimes it can be helpful to go last. Like, for example, clerics sometimes want to go last because then they can see if anyone's been injured.
True.
And they can take stock of the situation before they act. But I think for you, having a good initiative is probably better than anything else. So
taking out the enemies from distance and all that sort of thing.
Yep, get the drop on someone.
Yeah.
So in terms of your hit points,
Yeah.
so at level 1, you'll start with, because you're a ranger, you'll start with 10 plus your constitution modifier as your hit points.
So that's 11 to start with.
Yep, that's correct. So we'll go 11. And now for each subsequent level, you can roll a d10, and you can either roll a d10 or just take the rough average of 6 plus your constitution modifier for every level past level 1. So it's up to you if you want to roll. I did like what Kel did in the podcast where you were doing this, where if you roll a 1, you can re-roll it, because rolling a 1 on your health, especially at earlier levels, is pretty punishing.
God, yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, if you do want to roll, I'll let you re-roll 1s, or you can just take the average, and then just add your constitution on top of that. So you'll get to do that an additional 4 times.
Okay, cool. I don't have a D10 on me, so I think I'm just going to do the average plus 1. I think I'm just going to do that 4 times.
Yeah, you can do that. There is a dice roller built into Google if you want to do that. So.
Oh, okay. Let's do that then.
So if you go dice roller D10, I think it should just pop up. Yep. So Google has its own built-in dice rolling functionality, which is pretty handy.
Okay, let's do this then.
Oh, sound effects too.
Yeah, this is online dice apparently, so you're not going to see this on screen, but it's got some cool sound effects that you might have heard. Just try this. So the first one is a 10. That's good.
Doi. All right. So that means your
22.
Your first sort of level up will take you up to 22.
Cool. Let's roll again. 3.
So that will be 4.
So go up to 26. Good sound effects. Another another 3.
Another 3. All right. Balancing out your good roll.
Cool. So
And then you've got one more.
2. Oh god.
Ooh. Okay. So that'll be 3.
33.
So that will put you to. So I've got all the numbers here, just so that way we can confirm the maths. Yeah, 33.
33. Cool.
All right. Cool. Alrighty, so that there is done.
Yep.
All right, I guess now, just so we can fill in some blanks that are missing, just underneath where your skills are should be passive wisdom, and then in parentheses perception.
That's right. Yep.
Your passive wisdom will be 10 plus your perception bonus. So for you, you have a +6. So your passive perception will be 16, which is pretty good.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
So, in case you don't know what that is, it's basically a number that only I will really keep track of.
Yeah.
And that way, if there is something hidden from the party, but say for example like an enemy, I will secretly roll stealth for it, and if you have higher passive perception, then it's stealth roll. It means you will see it without having to actively search it out. It will just be something that you'll notice, and I'll bring that up to your attention as well should that happen. So
Okay. Yeah.
Alrighty. Now we can probably do the attack bonuses for your weapons.
Yep.
So I've written in redliner. So we can always come back to this and increase the bonus should we decide to make this your magical weapon.
Yep.
But the attack bonus is equal to the relevant ability modifier. So for bows, it's dexterity, so it will be a 3. And then because you are proficient with bows, that will be another 3 on top for your proficiency bonus. So you should have a +6 as your attack bonus.
That's right.
And that should be the same for your melee weapon as well.
Cool.
Which makes things nice and easy.
Yep.
All right, and then in terms of the damage, so for a longbow, we will have a look here. So a longbow does 1d8 piercing damage,
Cool. Yep.
and that will also get a +3, which is equal to your dexterity modifier. So it's realistically the damage that you deal will be 1d8 +3 piercing.
Cool. Nice.
And then pretty much the same thing for your melee weapon. So that is a 1d8 as well, +3 slashing damage.
Yep.
Now, there is a important thing to note. So longswords have a property called versatile, which means that if you hold it with two hands, it takes the damage die from a d8 to a d10. So if you swing with one hand, it will be 1d8 +3. If it's with two hands, it will be 1d10 +3.
Cool. Okay. Nice.
So good thing to note.
Yep. Definitely. So I also wrote down that also makes sense because I also wrote down a feat because I think when you reach level 4 you can choose either a feat or ability score increase, and I chose to select dueling, which basically means that I get +2 when I'm wielding a one-handed when I'm wielding a sword one-handed. But I might actually now, as a result of realizing that you can do a two-handed, I might actually just take that out and then do an ability score increase instead, perhaps.
Probably a good idea. So like in this instance, probably like dueling would be more suited to someone who's using a sword and a shield.
Yeah.
Because it's not considered a weapon, a shield. So that way you get your extra bonus. Yeah, so we can always come up with a different feat. So you can always choose one of the two others that we talked about, or I can always have a look at some of the others that exist.
But when you choose to wield it two-handed, it's still the same attack bonus. It's just 1d10 slashing instead.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, let me just write this in here then.
And I think based on your character, you're probably going to be holding it in two hands anytime you swing with it.
Yeah, definitely. So I think in that case, I'm just going to put my my steam blade is what I'm calling it as just 1d10 because that's the only time I'd be using the steam blade is when I'm two-handing it essentially.
Yeah, for sure. And then any instance where you have to hold onto something and swing, then I'll just make note of that.
Cool.
Right.
Or unless I'm riding my motorbike and I'm doing pure FF7 Cloud Strife one-handed, but that's not going to happen. Not anytime soon anyway.
Well, yeah, we'll have to see where the campaign takes us. You know,
exactly.
Might end up back in metrics. You don't know. So.
Yeah. Cool. So that's nice to know for now. So that's that. Studded leather armor. Yeah. So that, if I'm just going to go back to my character sheet quickly, and then just a few of these these extra bits that that I get that's worth putting in the features in traits section on the right hand side.
Yep.
Got the explorer's pack and obviously a quiver. We're probably not gonna. Are we gonna take note of how many arrows I have? Probably not. You don't normally.
The only time I'll take note of arrows is if you have specialty arrows, which I will be giving you some, and you may encounter some more throughout the one shot. But for the sake of brevity, any regular arrow, I'm assuming you've got more than enough. So
yeah, exactly.
Nice. Especially if you're a level 5 character, you've probably gone to some sort of Fletcher's and been like, "Give me 1,000 arrows," and
please, yeah, exactly.
So
yeah, just a few of these features then. So I've got something called Ear to the Ground. As an urban bounty hunter, I get this. So it says you are in frequent contact with people in the segment of society that your chosen quarries move through. These people might be associated with the criminal underworld. They're rough and tumble folks of the streets or members of higher society. This connection comes in the form of contact in any city you visit, a person who provides information about the people and places of the local area. So I've basically got a contact in and around the pits and metrics which I can go to for information about things, essentially. So that's just like a nice little bit of flavour to add in.
Yeah, I will definitely create and provide you with information on this particular individual. So that way, if you do need information during the one shot, you can always try and seek them out. And yeah, they'll definitely be privy to giving you information.
Yeah, nice. So that's that. Then I'm just writing this down in the far right side. Then we've got the next thing that I get is a favoured enemy for being a ranger. So this is you have advantage on wisdom survival checks to track your favoured enemies, as well as intelligence checks to recall information about them. And I've chosen monstrosities as my favoured enemy because of the Monster Hunter background or Monster Hunter theme. So basically, I don't know what monstrosities are. They're like just weird and wonderful creatures, aren't they? Like griffins and
Yeah,
other
so
stuff.
more of your traditional big sort of mythological creatures.
Yeah.
There's definitely when it was brought up in the podcast, I was having a think as to sort of what things in the pits that exist that could be considered that. But then again, you do also travel across Wraith, which is monster hunting in general.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think with all the information and like abilities that you as a ranger would have, I think that will make up for anything that you may encounter in the pits that isn't a monstrosity. You'll still have some benefit, whether it's for tracking them or recalling information as to, for example, like what a dreg is or certain criminal organizations. You'll know information about them. So
exactly. So that's that. Then we've got Natural Explorer, which again is another sort of ranger related thing. So when you make an intelligence or wisdom check related to, I'm assuming the pits or the area that we're in, your proficiency bonus is doubled if you're using a skill that you're proficient in, and obviously you get a load of traveling benefits as well, which is more sort of akin to longer campaigns where you're trying to travel from one place to another. So that's probably not going to be relevant. But I can do things like when I'm tracking things, I know how many there are, their sizes, and how long ago they might have passed through the area, etc. So it's more like tracking and stuff.
Yeah, in terms of like crafting like this session for you guys, I'm definitely making sure that each person's class can shine in certain aspects. So even though something like Natural Explorer may be a lot better for a longer campaign, I'll definitely make sure that it will have some benefits throughout the session. So things such as difficult terrain don't slow you down is very good. Tracking other creatures, knowing their sizes and stuff is very good as well. And then even when you are engaged in another activity while traveling, you remain alert to danger can be pretty good too. So that way you don't get dropped, like someone gets a drop on you. So,
and that's in tandem.
There'll definitely be things you can use it for.
Exactly, yeah, and that's already in tandem with my characters like passive perception and all that anyway, isn't it? I guess so.
Yep, exactly.
That's good. Now, fighting styles are something I get access to. So I chose archery as my fighting style. Which gives me a +2 to bonus to attack rolls make with ranged weapons. So I'm assuming in this case then my red liner will go up to +8 rather than +6. Is that right?
Yes. So that will go up to +8, which is pretty good.
Cool. So let me just.
So that's about on the same level as Kale with his daggers. So his daggers are magical, which means he gets an additional +1 on top of that. But assuming we give your redliner some sort of magical property, it might end up being a +9 eventually once we get to the end. So
yeah, well, I mean, I'm happy to have like +8 and then some utility arrows that we discussed off screen. But there's a few other things as well that we'll get into. We're sort of nearing the end, I guess. But there's a couple of spells that Ranger has that might be more of a flavour to whether he has access to a certain arrow, which we'll get into, which I've written down. But yeah, +8 is still pretty good, and with utility arrows also it could be nice to have like AOE and like fog effects and all that sort of thing. But we will see. So next is if I just go down onto this again. I did put in, as I mentioned earlier, dueling. Instead of attribute increase at level 4, I put in when you're wielding a melee weapon in one hand. I didn't realise that we had versatile as an option, because I will definitely always be using two hands.
Yeah. So in that instance, because you're not taking that particular feat, did you still want to try take another feat, or did you want to put some extra bonuses into your skills?
Yeah,
instead.
I'm just thinking what might be worth doing. I do like the idea of just having all these feats for certain things. So I mean,
Mm,
if there's any other ones which could be worth having, like that alert one sounded quite good because the more we've spoken about it, the more I think he is going to be quite alert as to what's going on and stuff. So I think
mm.
maybe something like that would be quite good.
Yeah. So there was the alert one. There was the dungeon delver one, which helped you out with traps.
Ah, yeah.
Let's see what else we've got. I'm just trying to have a look at a big list here. Um,
Yes, there is quite a few. There is quite a few
mm,
feats which are in the obviously the player's handbook, which you can have a look at. So
mm,
there's quite a few. If you're watching this now in the future, you can have a look. There's quite a lot in there. Um, but this is a good thing about doing it as well, is that the longer you speak about your character, the more you think, oh right, yeah, he's going to be wanting to do something like this, and there normally is a feat which supports your idea most of the time.
yeah, there are some feats that really heavily sort of dictate the direction you want your character to go in. For
Yeah,
example, like if you're like, oh, I really want to use cool pole arms, there's a feat literally
yeah,
called pole arm master, which makes it very good to use a pole arm.
yeah.
Same with crossbows and whatnot. So,
I've seen some
um,
funny videos, like some people, their thumbnails like, "Oh, Polar Master is OP,"
yeah,
because
pole arm master is very good.
you're just literally just out of range of the enemy all the time, but still really proficient at just smacking them in the face with your huge pole, essentially.
Yep,
Um,
yep.
but yeah,
So I guess another one that you could possibly take, there's one called Skilled, which gives you 3 extra skill proficiencies.
oh wow,
There
okay,
is, what else do we have? Fighting Initiate. Um, you learn one fighting style option from the fighter class. So that could be in addition to like how you had archery, there's also like defensive, two weapon fighting, that sort of thing. It basically just gives you an extra one of those. Um, you could,
is there a well, I guess my weapon wouldn't count as great weapon because I know there's great weapon fighting, isn't there? Which is
yeah. Great weapon fighting is, I believe, specifically for like heavy weapons. I could
uh
be wrong on that.
yeah, because yeah, I
You
mean,
just have to wield it with 2 hands. And
oh
then you get the benefits, which is if you roll a 1 or 2 on the damage die for an attack made with a melee weapon that you're wielding with 2 hands, you can re-roll the die and must use the new roll, even if the new roll is a 1 or 2. The weapon must have the two-handed or versatile property for you to gain the benefits. So it gives you, I guess, like a re-roll on damage,
yeah.
which is it's fine. It's nothing to scoff at, but um,
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's sort of that's making my character fairly consistent in both melee and ranged,
mm,
which could be good. But what was the very first one we said about the fact that I would get more initiative? Because I think acting first would be quite
uh,
good.
yeah. So that was the alert feat. So that particular feat was
Yeah, I think that's the
customization.
one we're going to use. I think that one there.
Uh, +5 to initiative. Can't be surprised while you're conscious, and creatures don't get advantage on you if they're hidden. So
Yeah, we'll do that. I think the having +8 initiative will allow me to pretty much go first most of the time, and then just fire something off at someone.
especially because it definitely seems like your character likes using a lot of utility
Yeah,
to help control the battlefield. So going first is like pretty good with that.
yeah.
Um,
We'll take the alert feat then in that case.
Alrighty. So you have alert, and you go up to +8 initiative, which is pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
um, yeah, you're probably going to be going first 90% of the time, I would say.
Yeah, fantastic.
Um, Alrighty. And then I guess
Um,
outside of that, it's probably just your spells, I'd say.
yeah, let me just bring up the thing again. So there's a couple more things that I get as we level up in Ranger. You get some extra things. So here it says,
Mm-hmm.
beginning at 3rd level, you can use your action and expend 1 Ranger spell slot To focus your awareness on a region around you for 1 minute per level of the spell slot, you can sense whether the following types of creatures are present within 1 mile. So basically, that is just like if you're trying to track or find some group of creatures or something, you can essentially know where they are. It's a nice ability to have.
I'll probably alter a little bit the list of creature types.
Yeah.
Just to make a bit more sense for your character, because
Yeah.
most of them you probably won't encounter.
No.
So things like celestials, dragons, fays, fiends, those you probably won't encounter. So I might add in things like dregs.
Yeah. Mutants and that
Yeah,
sort of stuff.
yeah, mutants, dregs, sort of thing. I might just add that to the list. But yeah, I'll probably tweak that a little bit for you so it's a bit more useful.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome. And then just going down the level of extra stuff that we get as well, which could be relevant and could not. But obviously, as a DM, you can tweak it to the campaign. Hunter's Sense. So at 3rd level, you gain the ability to peer at a creature and magically discern how best to hurt it. As an action, choose one creature you can see within 60 feet, and you immediately learn whether that creature has any damage, immunities, resistances, or vulnerabilities, and what they are. And if the creature is hidden from divination magic, you sense that it has no damage, immunities, resistances, or vulnerabilities. You can use this feature a number of times equal to your wisdom modifier. So yeah, it's just looking at it's like the old sort of Final Fantasy scan ability. So it allows you to look at the creatures, whether it's weak to fire and all this sort of stuff, which I think again is fairly good for what my character wants to do, is be versatile and control things and understand things. So
for sure.
So that's that. And then we've got Slayer's Prey as well, which is starting at 3rd level. You can focus your ire on one foe, increasing the harm you inflict on it. As a bonus action, you designate one creature you can see within 60 feet as the target. And the first time each turn that you hit the target with a weapon attack, it takes an extra 1d6 damage from the weapon. So when do you get to do that? Is it as a bonus action? So you get to do that every round then, essentially.
Yeah, so on your turn, you've basically got your action, movement, and you have a bonus action sometimes.
Yeah.
I mean, you always have a bonus action open. It's just whether or not you can use it.
Yeah.
So you could easily say you start combat and you're in hiding. You can use your bonus action, designate a target, and then use your action to pop out of cover and shoot it, which is pretty good.
Yeah, okay. Nice. I don't know whether this counts for range or whether it's just weapon attacks. It just says with a weapon attack. So is that ranged as well?
Yeah, so that'd be ranged and melee.
Oh, nice. So. Okay. Yeah, so that for flavor purposes, if we could just write down that that's basically the steam enhancement of my stuff. Would that
or
be...
if you have some sort of like laser sight or something.
Exactly, yeah. So Slayer's Prey essentially is just augmented steam-powered weapons, essentially, which you can use as a bonus action.
I'm just envisioning the artwork from the mechanologist card Zoom In.
Yeah, exactly.
It's kind of like beep, 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 beep.
Yeah, definitely.
So
locked and loaded
right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Zoom In. Yeah.
Definitely. I might have to just put a little picture of Zoom In on the thing so I can remember that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Benefit lasts until you finish a short or long rest. It ends early if you designate a different creature. So that's that. So let me just write that in there as well. Slayer's Prey. And then obviously we get an extra attack as we level up. So we can attack twice. I think everybody has that, don't they? Pretty much.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest reasons why I decided to have you guys start at level 5, just because you get the extra attack. Because if you start at level 4, like, you get your ability score improvement from that level, and sometimes I think maybe a class feature. But then if you just go a little bit further to level 5, then you get the 2 attacks, and that makes it a bit more fun, I reckon. So
yeah, exactly. Cool, and then that's pretty much the character. All of the stats plugged in, and yeah, so
I think it's probably just your spells.
Yeah.
I
think that's pretty much it. So I've pretty much selected these already from the list that we get.
Hmm.
So when I want to use them, obviously I can. I don't actually have the spells and what they do in front of me, but I did read them previously. But they are. Let me just go down. So apparently I get 4 at first level.
So
So
you'll get 4 total spells overall.
yeah,
So the way Ranger does spell casting is a little bit different than normal.
yeah,
So you have a set amount of spells that you could ever know, but then
yeah,
spell slots is always hard to explain. It's kind of
yeah,
like
yeah,
charges.
yeah.
So you can cast up to 4 level 1 and 2 level 2 spells essentially
Hmm.
out of the 4 that you know. So you
Yeah.
go to cast the spell and you're like, okay, do I want to cast it at first level or second level?
Hmm.
Um,
Cool.
so
So yeah, I get access to ranger spells, but then we also get access to monster hunter spells as well. So those are the ones that we can potentially choose if we want as part of our 4. Then the monster hunter ones.
so I believe, let me just double check. I believe with anytime you get spells from a subclass, normally you get them in addition to any spells you might know. So I think you just automatically have them in addition to your 4.
Okay. Nice. I don't know how often I would. I don't know how often I would use these spells because one of them is called Protection from Evil and Good, and Zone of Truth. So I don't know what those ones really do, but they're the ones
um,
that Monster Hunter gives you when you choose it, essentially.
yeah, so you do get both of those spells for free. Um, in
Okay.
addition. So just quickly, Zone of Truth is basically when you cast it, there will be an area around you where anyone inside has to make a saving throw, and if they fail, they cannot lie
All
while
right.
they're in the zone. So it's pretty good for interrogation.
Yeah.
They can still kind of avoid your questions, but yeah, they can't lie without you knowing essentially. And then protection from good and evil. Generally, I don't see that spell used much. I think it's what does it do? I can actually probably find it right now. Protection from good and evil.
Yeah. Some strange
I
ones.
don't think you'll probably find much use for it because it does rely on
Yeah.
knowing the alignment of what it is you're trying to use it against. So protection, pro,
But yeah, for some of the.
protection from evil and good. Here we are. Um, so yeah, it takes an action, touch, concentration, up to 10 minutes. Until the spell ends, one willing creature you touch is protected against certain types of creatures. Aberrations, celestials, elementals, fays, fiends, and undead. The protection grants several benefits. Creatures of those types have disadvantage on attack rolls against the target.
Mhm.
The target also can't be charmed, frightened, or possessed by them. If the target is already charmed, frightened, or possessed, they have advantage on any new saving throws against that effect. So, because that list is pretty much identical, it's very close to the list of creatures you can sense with, I think it's called Hunter Sense. I might actually just chuck dregs on there or
Yeah.
mutants of some kind. That way you can actually find a use for it.
Yeah. Sounds good.
And yeah, it definitely makes sense with your character. So,
Yeah.
um,
And that was part of the primeval awareness, the same one as that one. Yeah, one that you can sense
yes.
aberrations, celestials, etc. You just want to add in the dregs instead, which is nice. So yeah, those are the ones we get in addition to the 4 that we have. And
Hmm.
I think in this case, then we're just going to choose 4 first level ones, which I already had as part of my list here, which you can see. So the first one is Cure Wounds. So we want to have
Always a classic.
some sort of utility. I know that Bill's probably going to have some more restoration style things, but it's always good to have 2 people that can do it.
Yeah, because if the cleric goes down, who's going to pick up the cleric?
Yeah, exactly. And again, feeding into the versatility of the character here. Then we have what I thought would be sort of similar to the way Barbed Undertow is and feels like. It's like this ensnaring sort of attack, and there's actually a magical spell called Ensnaring Strike, which is I think could be like akin to what the Barbed Undertow is trying to do, like ensnare
Mm.
someone. So we got the Ensnaring Strike as another spell. Then we've got fog cloud, which I also thought would be good as like a flashbang arrow sort of effect. So maybe not an arrow that does damage, but something I can use as a spell essentially, which allows me to fire that sort of thing at someone.
So I guess in like terms of flavor, it could be like almost like a smoke grenade that you've tied to an arrow.
Yeah,
So whenever you cast a spell, you just shoot it and it explodes and causes
yeah,
fog. So
yeah. And then obviously I need to because you recover your spells when you short or long rest. Is that right?
long rest.
Long
The only
rest.
exception to that is like certain abilities sometimes come back on short rests,
Yeah.
and warlocks also get stuff back on short rest.
Cool. So that makes sense. That makes sense as well. And in the flavor that if I'm resting, I can then strap another grenade or tinker another grenade to another arrow or something like that, which is good. Similar to the ensnaring strike. And then I've also got searing smite as well, which is basically I've put in brackets the steam powered blade. So just another way of maybe just jacking up the one attack on the sword if I want to, sort of thing.
For sure.
So
I really like that.
yeah, so it's like a just a versatile mixture of different things on the weapons, but not too overpowered in each one, in either one. But yeah, that is pretty much it, I think. So
The only last thing I can think of, depending if you want to do it now or not, but
yeah,
what you would like your, I guess, magical weapon or trinkets to be. Do you think that would just be, instead of having like a magical item specifically, you just take like a small suite of special arrows, or?
yeah, I'd say so. Yeah, I'd rather just have more versatility.
Hmm.
But obviously the spells that we've gone into probably sort of replicate that to a certain degree with the fog, the flashbang, the barbed undertow style thing. So if you can think of like other arrows that could be good that I can have access to that aren't like spell slot related, that could be a good thing to add potentially.
Mm.
Um,
But yeah,
yeah.
that's probably it. I definitely think we hit everything. You've got your
Mm,
entire backstory done. You've done all your
yeah.
character stats, weapons, spells. Oh, last thing as well.
Hmm.
Spell save DC and spell attack bonus will
Oh,
also
of
have
course.
to
Yeah.
put in. But other than that, I think we're all done. So,
Yeah.
in terms of spell casting, so your spell casting class will be Ranger. Spell casting ability will be Wisdom. The spell save DC is equal to 8 plus your Wisdom modifier, which would be 11, and then plus your proficiency bonus. So that will go up to 14.
Spell save DC
Um,
14. Yeah.
and then your spell attack bonus will be your Wisdom modifier plus your proficiency. So that will go to +6.
Okay.
All right, there we go. That's definitely it.
That is
Just going
definitely it.
through. Oh, I keep finding things at the last moment. Languages. So, um, I know you did briefly talk about it on the podcast. So, common is the main one.
Yeah.
And then languages is a bit weird, especially within Fab, just because we don't quite know 100% what other languages there are.
No. Yeah.
So, do you remember what you had talked about possibly having when you
I,
did the podcast?
I think it was. I think it was mainly. I think it might have been mainly Bill's one because obviously he's got a tie to a deity that might have like abyssal.
That's right. Yeah.
Whereas with me, it's more like. Yeah, the stuff that I hunt and stuff is more sort of criminals, which is common tongue, and then monstrosities, which are just monsters. So I don't really have anything else, really.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah. Okay. Probably the only one I can really think of that might fit within Fab would be Undercommon.
yeah.
Um, which is normally spoken in D&D terms. In like the Underdark, which is like deep caverns way below the ground.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, so that's probably one that you might encounter. Normally, I'd say in Fab, if you were to encounter it, it would be sort of like a weird dialect slang version of just common.
Yeah.
That would be very hard to understand. It's almost a bit like how I guess in the real world Jamaicans speak like a form of English that's kind of recognizable to someone who speaks English, but there's like certain
Yeah.
ways that they move the grammar around where it's quite not quite English,
Yeah.
which is pretty cool.
Mm.
So I'd say that's probably something you'd probably encounter with some of the criminals and dodgy people down in the pits.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I can attribute that as well.
Yep.
Nice. Um,
All right.
but yeah, apart from
Yeah.
that's pretty much all done.
That's definitely it.
Fantastic. I did before we finish. I did tweet out like, oh, what would my character's alignment be? But there's so many grey areas because obviously he wants to do good, but then he kills people out, out of a revenge driven place. But he wouldn't see innocents and other people come to harm, and he's still a protector. And I've googled like, what is the Punisher's alignment, and there's so many grey areas, so I don't know whether to leave that blank or what your take on that might be as a way to close it off.
I did think of this. I think anywhere between true neutral, chaotic neutral, and chaotic good.
Yeah.
So I guess if you feel like he would be a lot more ruthless to the individuals that he's tracking down and like maybe wouldn't be opposed to like some form of torture, probably leans more neutral than good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it depends. Do you think he would follow set rules or laws of a place that he was in, or do you think he would be like, no, I don't care about rules at all, or kind of in between, or?
Yeah. So I would say that he tries to if he is in an area, he'll abide by the law, but obviously then he goes behind the laws back during the night to then do criminals. But yeah, mainly speaking,
I could. I'm really leaning towards true neutral, but that's just kind of a feeling I have, I would say.
Yeah, because he's
yeah.
Yeah, I reckon so. I reckon so as well. There is a bit of there is a bit of chaos and sort of stuff there as well, but he is generally just does things his own way, so it's hard to really sort of put him into a category.
Yeah.
But
the biggest thing I guess I could say is I heard a really good quote regarding alignment. The alignment doesn't dictate the actions dictate the alignment. So
yeah,
realistically, at the end of the day, if I feel like after you do some stuff within a session, if we were to keep this character going, for example, over time, maybe you started doing things that I felt were more evil, I might start bumping you towards evil.
Yeah.
But yeah, realistically, alignment doesn't make really any difference. There's only a couple fringe cases where certain spells or items might require someone to be of a certain alignment, but I really don't think you'll encounter that in this session, so I think you'll be fine either way. Just play the character how you see fit, and if it matches true neutral, then so be it. If it doesn't, well, it doesn't matter. So
exactly. And that's for other people to label for us. What is Azra de Mullet's journey going to be? Is he going to turn to the dark side? Nah. But yeah, thanks for helping me with that. It's nice to get that fully realised. Obviously, you've got that on your end as well now to sort of plug into what we're going to be doing, and that's going to be the Escape from Southmore. You said.
Yes, Escape from Southmore.
So
you have to wait and see what that's about.
Exactly. And before we go, where can people find yourself and where all your stuff is?
So Dead Summer Art on pretty much everything: YouTube, Twitter. Are the main two that I use. I don't really post that much on like Facebook or Instagram. Just Twitter and YouTube, or I'm hanging out in certain Discords. Sometimes I'll pop into certain Discords and say hello. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Fantastic. But yeah, make sure you stay tuned. I don't know where the video's going to end up or where the stuff's going to end up. Probably be on might be on your channel, maybe Kale's channel, but we'll see. We'll work out logistics at some stage. But thanks for everybody for joining, and we'll see you very, very soon. Cheers. Nice. Lovely old job.